Discovery.
3, 2, 1, 0, 0. Liftoff. Americans return to space as Discovery clears the tower.
Welcome to the Podcast Discovery Show, the podcast that's about other podcasts, where every single week we have a book club style discussion about a podcast. And at the end of the episode, we'll have a brand new recommendation. We'll talk about that one next week. I'm Kirk.
I'm Zach.
And I'm Matt.
And this week we're talking about Storytime with Seth Rogen. And specifically, we're talking about two episodes that I listened to, and I just couldn't pick between the two. So I went ahead and recommended both of them. And I hope that you both enjoyed them. It was Ballad of Mt Doogie, Dowler, and The Crappiest Place on Earth. What did you guys think?
I really like this show. To be honest, usually when there's a celebrity show, I'm kind of like, we'll see. Because this is kind of the flavor of the month thing. Every celebrity, and I can't knock the hustle at all. Why not do it? But every single celebrity has a show that's just like, I'm a celebrity that has a show. And so I kind of go into it.
Celebrities.
Yeah. I kind of go into that a little skeptical typically. But this was a really good show. I love kind of the angle he's taking where literally it's not based on him being a celebrity, at all. I guess him knowing Paul Shear, on one of the episodes, that kind of is. But other than that, it's not. The sound design is great.
Oh,
I really love the production. It's Earwolf.
It is
fantastic.
The music that they have, the interstitial stuff was so good. And the sound bites, they just it had that quality of like NPR where it's like you feel it, texture. It just felt really good.
So I guess let's start with talking about the Ballad of Mt Doogie, Dowler, which I will say I just recently edited the teaser that I mentioned at the end of last episode, and I said that it was Seth's brother-in-law that was the one that was attacked by the grizzly bear, and it was his best friend's brother-in-law. So I was incorrect. So sorry about that.
Unforgivable.
Hey, same. Kirk is banished podcast now.
Okay. Bye. See you later.
When you see the white smoke, we have someone selected, but when you see the black smoke, that is when the next host of PDS has been appointed.
And that is a Pope joke, friends.
Yeah, we're just giving you a peek behind the curtain, letting you know how the inner workings of the podcast. But yeah, so this one is about his friend and he sets it up. Literally, the first part of this is, I know a guy who was attacked by a grizzly bear. And then it's just, and the thing that I love about this is you are hearing the story from the man who was attacked by a grizzly bear, and we'll get more into it, but the kind of details that he picked up, you're just like, wow, this was a powerful episode of like storytelling, I thought.
Oh yeah.
And it was an intense experience. Like it wasn't like it was like I just like had a little tussle with a bear. No, this guy was very, 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 very close to dying. Like very close to dying.
I feel like he could have even. Okay, so I guess let's get into kind of. Okay, first thing, if you are at all interested in this story, please go listen to him tell this story because
100%.
It is really, really powerful hearing someone tell this experience from their perspective. But we'll give you a little bit of the highlights. So this is called Mt Doogie Dowler, and his name is Colin Dowler. This was his grandpa, and he was like the guy. I think this is in British Columbia, and they had a grocery store, and that's how Colin met his wife. And it was just he was a big, legendary kind of guy that was a huge part of everything, and he has a mountain named after him. And so his grandson was committed to, I'm going to climb this mountain that was very inhospitable to that. It was not like a regular climbing mountain where it's just you go walk switchbacks and there's a trail. You have to just go straight up the side of a mountain with basically nothing. And so he goes down there to do a recon trip, and the recon trip goes very badly at the end in basically every possible way. But I felt like at the beginning, you're kind of like, they're taking you through it and it's a little slow, and you just kind of, I was even like imagining kind of the setting he was in, because he was talking about kind of going up there and starting to do his trek and everything. And then
it sounded nice and peaceful.
Yeah, it turns, and that's one of the things I really liked about it, is because it turns so fast. Literally, it was like an innocuous moment. So he went up the mountain and he got as far as he could. He was coming back down to go back to camp, and that's when he came across a grizzly bear in the middle of his path. He was on a bike, and everything went sideways from there. What were some of the main things you guys remembered from kind of like the attack sequence?
Well, that's what I was going to say. I thought it was amazing how much detail he remembers from it. That would be something where I was like, if that happened to me, I'd be like, I don't know, a bear attacked me.
I think the first detail that stuck out to me was the fact that the bear had basically walked past him, and he had the moment where he thought, man, I wish that I would recorded that. No one's going to believe that I was that close to this bear and it just walked past me. And then it turned around. He had the thought of like, man, that was such a cool experience. And then it was not cool anymore because it escalated.
No, and just thinking about like having this interaction where you're like, I am by myself. There is no one anywhere near me, but there is he ended up saying the bear was 9 feet long, and it was just looking at him. It was literally just like primal nature type things where it's just a human versus a bear, and the human was in no way equipped to defend it, except for like right away, I guess. But he said he didn't want to do that because then you become prey. Then the prey instincts kick in. The bear thinks you're running; it's going to try and grab you. So he was trying to be like bold. He also sounds like a very small guy. He said like he was like 130. Yeah. And so it's really just kind of this crazy thing to visualize, is somebody that's a fairly small guy just in a staring competition with a bear. That was one of the first ones that like caught my attention, is like he admitted like that bear was staring me down and I stared at it, but I couldn't like hold it, because I think there's some level of like lizard brain that if you're looking at an apex predator, we start to kick in like the fight or flight. It's no longer like pure logic. It's like you're more animal then. You're in nature. You're not in our current situation. You are in their situation. And so he wasn't at all shy to say like, I could not hold a stare with a grizzly bear.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I would react there either, to be quite honest.
I think that I would just be like drenched in sweat would be my guess, just like adrenaline out. And I don't know. I hope I never have to find out, really. I don't ever want to interact with a grizzly bear in the wild.
You know what? I do. No,
What are you going to do, Matt? What are you going to do?
You know what? I'm going to fight that bear. And I'm going to kick its ass.
Well, I hope there's no bears listening, because they're going to come get you now. But
yeah, a list somewhere, a bear list.
So basically, he gets the bear walks past him. He thinks he's won, and the bear turns around and just grabs him by, it sounds like his like hip and side area,
flank,
and ragdolls him, like just picks him up off the ground and is just like flailing him around. And there's nothing you can do against that kind of strength. And then it starts basically just trying to eat him while he's there. And he walks through all these, like Matt was talking about, the detail that he remembered throughout this is crazy. Like he talks about, he remembers hearing the noises it was making while it was literally like destroying him. Yeah, and like he remembers what its teeth looked like. And like he at one point was like, because I'm sure he was bleeding out and mostly delirious through the second half of this because shock and just blood loss. But he was trying to like pull the bear's mouth off of him. And the bear just like bit him like it was nothing, like, get out of here, idiot. And then just went back to it. And he just remembers so much of this. And that's also where it got really intense, because you could hear him welling up and like becoming very upset, because he's like, I've abandoned my family. I've made a stupid mistake coming up here by myself, losing my bear spray. And like, this is going to cost my family. And he's like, he gets very upset. And then I don't know. It's the weirdest juxtaposition on this show, because all of this was, and I mean, it makes a lot more sense on the other episode, but on this intense one, it's like this very intense show. You can hear somebody like grappling with like one of the moments where they almost died. And then you hear Seth Rogen giggling, and that's its own sound that is very unique. And I don't know. It's a funny kind of mixture of things for sure.
You do hear a lot of like, holy, like just a lot of expletives.
Yeah.
It's just like, holy
Dang.
crap, holy cow, dang, what, like just going nuts, listening to this story.
I also loved how after the bear attack, it was just like, man, this story continues. It just keeps going. I mean,
it keeps getting worse, kind of like, because
He's
and
like, at one point, he's like, he finds a mile marker or whatever, and he's like, oh my God, I thought I was so much farther than I am. He's like, I'm dead. I'm not going to survive.
Yeah. So he actually escapes a bear because he just like, I guess last second, like fight or flight, he had a little fight left. He pulled out a pocket knife.
Knife.
And
that was my favorite part.
And it sounds like it sounds like caught him in like a main artery, like by pure luck. It just like, I think stabbed it in the neck and got him. And he also said his badass line. And this I don't think I would have said. I think that everybody likes to think that they would be badass in a situation like this. I think that's unlikely. But this guy literally said, now you're bleeding too now, bear, or something like that. You're bleeding too now. And then Seth Rogen starts giggling. I was like, this is the craziest story.
He's like, you didn't say that. He's like, I sure as shit did.
I mean, honestly, to be fair, if you say that to a bear that's trying to eat you and you just stabbed in the throat and won, you should tell everybody that you ever meet for the rest of your life that story. Like, that should be your opener when you meet people.
Yeah, because wasn't that what he said while he was coming back and he finally is able to make a call? It's like, I think I killed a bear.
Yeah, he said that to like his brother, all delirious.
He wanted to tell everybody.
Yeah. So then he has to like get he had one leg, like his injuries were extreme. He had, they said you could see his kidney through his back.
Mm-hmm.
That it looked like his entire back was just eviscerated. His entire leg had been punctured by the bear, just like chewing on him. So he essentially had one useless leg. He was bleeding. Like he probably was minutes away from bleeding to death, would be my guess, because he also got one of the punctures was femoral artery. I bet he was minutes away from death. And I think that if he didn't have here's a random one. Is tourniquet actually pronounced tourniquet? Are we saying dum-dum French? Have you guys did you hear him say that? He said tourniquet.
Did say it. Yeah, he said it multiple times.
Is it French and we're stupid Americans and just say tourniquet?
Yes,
well,
probably.
Isn't Seth Rogen Canadian?
Yes.
So maybe his guest was Canadian and has a funny way of saying things.
No, most likely they're saying it right. I think that's what Zach's point is.
Yeah, they could be French Canadians.
They're probably saying it right, and we're saying it wrong. You're probably right, man. I think we're saying it right. Them people saying it wrong.
No, but that blew my mind because he kept saying tourniquet. I was like, that's weird. But then I thought about how tourniquet is spelled. I was like, oh my God, are we the idiots? And
probably.
Honestly, I haven't looked it up, but if I were to wager a guess, we're the idiots. That would be my guess. But so he tourniquets his own leg, tourniquet, I don't know, who knows. We'll find out after this. We'll update everyone. And he basically has to put his useless leg on a pedal and just use his other leg to try and pedal. I think he said about 2.5 miles back to the next human for survival after being mauled by a bear. And so he basically said at one point he face planted. He wasn't able to stop well enough on his way down to the actual cabin. And so he slammed onto the deck down there. He luckily was saved by all the guys in there. They used 3 first aid kits to help him recover. Then they had to call in a helicopter to get him to a hospital because I think even after all of this, minutes from death. And so I think that the blood transfusion on the helicopter is the only reason he didn't die on the way to the hospital. And it's just seriously, even though we've given you the bullet points here, you should listen to this guy tell this story because it's crazy to hear someone's perspective after being mauled by a bear and to kind of relive all this stuff. But basically, it was an extremely intense episode of storytelling with Seth Rogen giggling intermittently throughout.
Yeah.
It was really good. And I loved it.
Yeah, I just thought it was a really intense story and I really thought you guys would appreciate it. And I just thought it was a good balance because, one of these is a celebrity story and the other one is a not celebrity story, but both of them are really good stories.
The other story is different, but we will tell about that story right after this.
Your dog deserves tasty, healthy, real food, not kibble. Sundays is real food for dogs, formulated by a vet with only the highest quality fresh meat, veggies, fruit, and superfoods, then air-dried to perfection. Made in the USA at a USDA human food facility.
Sundays is perfect for picky eaters like my dog. It tastes like a treat, but it's a complete and balanced meal, starting at less than $2 a day. It increases excitement about eating, better stool, more energy, improved weight, and a softer coat.
And a great thing is you can take a quick quiz right now to find out the perfect plan for your pup. The best part? Get 35% off first order with code PODFIX. That's 35% off with the code PODFIX.
So I guess that brings us to the next episode that we listened to, which was The Crappiest Place on Earth with Paul Shear.
And
what did you guys think about that one?
As riveting. This was just as riveting as the air attack story.
It's just as dangerous, for sure.
There was a lot of danger involved.
Just as life-threatening.
A lot of bears involved as well.
No, but there was geeses. Goosers.
There were geese?
Goslings.
Yeah. No, I enjoyed it. I like Paul Shear a lot. He's great. I liked his little homage to him at the top of the episode too.
I really like that. I actually wrote a note to that because it's really interesting hearing comedians talking about comedians. You know, so I feel like we just think he's funny, but Seth Rogen has specific reasons why he thinks his type of comedy is interesting. And honestly, the types of things he's talking about play out in this episode. Because what he's saying is essentially he pulls from a very real place. He talks about things that are very true to him and potentially embarrassing stories because he sees one, like the humanity in it, and then also the humor in it at the same time. And so he's like kind of sharing a lot about himself, but he's sharing it in such a funny and genuine way that it makes him really, really great to be around. He could call it shearing. He should have a podcast just called Shearing, where he overshears.
Overshearing.
God.
But yeah, this one is a nostalgia bomb because it was Paul Shear going with his dad to the happiest place on earth.
I only picked this one because it talked about Disney.
I figured.
I'm kidding.
Yeah, my parents are divorced, so it was always that was kind of how it was with my family too. It's like dad kind of gets the fun times or whatever, but our fun times were like, let's go eat, and then we'll get a Sara Lee pecan frozen pie.
Oh yeah,
at the grocery store. So I didn't really go to Disney with my dad, but I did get a lot of pie.
No, I did think that was cool too, where he kind of talks about circling back to his mom, like at a much later age, and kind of being like, why is dad doing the fun stuff? And she's like, well, I just figured I'd do like the parenting stuff and he'd do the fun stuff. It's like, that's weird. Why'd you take that?
Why'd you self-sabotage? Is I think what he said. Like, what?
No, he's very thoughtful. He's really, really funny. I've liked him in everything I've seen him in. Like, he's very famous from The League. If you don't know the name, he's very famous from The League. And then he's also on
The Human Giant.
And then he has a podcast called How Did This Get Made? That's fantastic.
It's so good.
He's really great, but really thoughtful at the same time. So it's a really
he's in a lot of T-Mobile commercials.
He might be. I don't know. I don't really see too many commercials now. Only sports games. But this story is about him going with his dad to Disney. And so it was like this big weekend, but he was sick leading up to it. And I mean, that should have been the giveaway sort of for where this story was going.
Classic though. As a kid, you're like, I don't want him to know I'm sick. Otherwise we might not go. I love that.
No, and I mean, that totally makes sense. I don't really
100%.
I don't really remember as a kid being like, I don't remember any Disney trips, but we didn't really have like money for a long time of this. So like we probably had something like that, some kind of trips, but mostly we had trips to like go visit our family. But if like there was some big thing coming up, there was no way you're going to tell anybody you're sick. You're going to just fight through it and you're going to go. Right. You can go to the thing.
Which is funny because alternatively, I faked sick all the time.
Yeah, but that was things I didn't want to do.
Exactly. I've taken that into my adult life, I think. Both of those. You know what I mean?
It's important to hold on to your childhood, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, but it was a good episode. I also really appreciated how he brought in his dad, Paul Shears' dad's phone calls into it.
And Seth Rogen's parents, too.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Because you kind of got a little conflict there. And not in like a serious way, but just more like Paul Shears' dad was kind of like, oh, well, are we going to need to take you to the hospital? Okay, so I guess we need to get in a little bit of the story. They go to Disney. They stay at the fanciest hotel. Apparently, they have geese that walk out of an elevator and go get in a little fountain.
That sounds so Florida, man.
It does.
So Florida.
It really does.
What hotel is it?
It's the Peabody Hotel. There's one in Memphis. There's one in Orlando.
I know where it's at. I didn't know what hotel it was.
Do they still have the geese?
They're ducks.
They're ducks.
Yeah, I don't know if he called them geese in the episode, but they are ducks. The Peabody Ducks. Maybe this is a different hotel, and they're like, oh, we'll do geese. Like,
I mean,
we're classier than that other thing.
Maybe as a kid, maybe they look like geese. As an adult, you realize they're
birds
small.
That were in the hotel. He's just like, what are these birds doing here?
Why are these here? Why
are these treated so nicely?
Yeah, so he goes to the hotel, or they get the nicest hotel, and then what he starts to get the rumblings.
Well, they go to Disney and they just go ham eating all the treats, and this is when they first come out with the Mickey
ice cream bar, right?
The Mickey ice cream, the ice cream bar. And I love how his dad does that's such a dad joke.
Yes.
Where he's eating the ice cream, the Mickey ice cream bar, and he's doing a Mickey Mouse voice. Oh no, you're eating my ear. And then I love how the sound
he just kept
playing it in there.
It distorting it. So he was like having this like crazy experience with this hearing Mickey Mouse noises.
Which then they started equating it to a bad trip, because they started talking about Disney is basically drugs for kids,
which is an interesting observation. I do think it kind of is, based on like what he's talking about, like suspended reality, and like you're in a different world. It's all it's all kind of spot on, which is funny, because then they start making like his dad's like fake dad's voice impression thing. They start like distorting it and making it weirder throughout the episode.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like, oh no.
It did take me a while, because I think I missed the first time he said it. So then I was like, what is that?
But they start eating all this ice cream and all this stuff. And eventually, they're halfway through the day at Disney, and Paul's like, hey, can we go back to the room? And that's just not something you do at a Disney day, especially when you're from out of town. You're not like a pass holder. You go for a little bit of time and go back home. And his dad's like, okay, but maybe we'll just go take a nap and go back to the park. And so they go back, and his dad, it's such a dad thing as well, decides that it's a good idea to order food, some room service. So they order some spaghetti with meat sauce or pasta with meat sauce.
Yeah.
Great idea. When you got a son with an upset stomach, which didn't help the situation very much. And it was explosive from both ends.
Yeah. He violently erupted during his nap, it sounds like. And so I think it's funny, because he describes his dad as like, okay, well, I'm going to call and get new sheets. And it's like, based on the description where it was like all over the room, everywhere. And he was just like, okay, I'm going to get some more sheets up here. This is a problem.
It's like how he would have reacted if his son was like, I've killed someone. Dad, help me. And he's like, all right, this is
Hold
what
on
we'll
one
do.
second.
We'll get some sheets. Be calm.
It did. So it did. There was a little bit of subtext, to me, at least. It did sound like the first part was he threw up everywhere, right?
Correct.
And then his dad's like, okay, go to the shower. I'm going to get some new sheets. So he gets some new sheets. Paul comes back out. He says he feels a lot better. and then it starts coming out the other end all over the bed.
Oh, I thought it was like a 1-2 situation. Like he started.
No, he got sick again. He got sick again, and then it started all over again. But then it started coming out both ends, and then it felt like his dad was like, "Well, now we just have to leave this hotel." His dad was just like, "All right, we just have to leave now."
Here's what we're gonna do, buddy.
There's no way
sneaking
to get out of
here.
This. So that's where it like turned. And they even like started playing like spy music, where it's like, "All right, how are we going to escape?"
Oh God!
We just ruined 2 mattresses.
Yeah, it's like, okay, so they're gonna have my credit card's about to get hammered, but we're gonna sneak out of here so we don't have to look anybody in the eye.
But it was a really funny story.
Yeah,
but
this is the story of how he learned he was lactose intolerant.
But that's so funny that's what it came down to, is that honestly, it probably had nothing to do with him being sick before the trip. That was almost irrelevant.
No,
maybe
sick before the trip was lactose intolerance. It was because he ate ice cream, right?
He kept drinking. He just learned about Pepsi milk.
Oh,
from
Pepsi milk.
That's
it.
Yeah.
No,
I forgot. You're
Josh drank Pepsi milk when we went to Nashville.
He did?
Yes,
Really?
but it wasn't Pepsi milk. It was Coke Zero with creamer in it. He's like, it tastes like a Coke float. I was like, that's disgusting. He's like, it curdles the milk a little bit. It's like, that's why you shouldn't
That's
do it.
even worse.
I know. It's like it's too acidic. So it like curdles the milk pretty much instantly.
Did he think that what you thought was gross is that it wasn't curdling?
No, he mentioned the curdling, and I was like, I don't know why you like added
gross. It curdles.
I don't feel like he said that way. I feel like that's me telling a story as an older brother, but he did say it that way. Like he did say like, oh, I mean, it will curdle if you don't drink it fast enough. I'm like, ugh, don't drink that. Why are you drinking that?
I was initially criticizing it.
You're making my job easier.
Yeah, that's what is this?
Nobody did it, and it turns like gray. This is a non-appetizing thing. It's not good. I wouldn't recommend it. What it is it's like, okay, Big Lebowski, you know, he makes the White Russians with non-dairy creamer. This is like the Coke float version of that, where it's like, okay, if you just don't care about life anymore, you can do this. It tastes kind of like if you left the Coke float out in the sun for a long time, but it's not necessary. You don't have to do it. And
but wait, Zach, does it curdle?
Oh, it does curdle. I have learned it curdles.
Well, never mind.
So if you like a little mouthfeel, a little extra mouthfeel in your Coke float with some chunkies, that is also a possibility.
I like to chew my Coke. Yeah. Nom, 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 nom.
Sorry.
If you like to chew your Coke, at least just throw some peanuts in there. That actually tastes good. Have you ever done that?
No, first of all,
Coke?
I think Josh was talking trash. I think Josh was talking trash about that when he was telling us about that, and we were criticizing his Coke float.
Whoa!
Okay, so that is definitely a thing. What do they call it? They call it
peanuts.
Popping peanuts. Yeah, so you pour peanuts into a soda of some kind. And then
you ever heard of popping peanuts?
It's like if you want to have a drink that's also a choking hazard, you can do that.
It's a snack
and a drink.
No, it's a poor man's boba tea. That's what it sounds like.
It's a boba tea that will hurt if you don't chew.
Oh my God. I'm going to have to try this.
It's good. It's actually good.
That one I would try before the curdled creamer Coke one.
I would say the curdled creamer and Coke seems more, they're two liquids going together.
I know, but they're not two liquids that should be together.
But peanuts and Coke should exist together.
I don't know, really.
I don't know.
Honestly, I kind of consider them the same category. And that's why Josh was like, oh, well, at least I'm not putting peanuts in here. It's like, that's not really better. You're not really in any way defending your case.
Do peanuts curdle? Do peanuts curdle?
It's like you can keep drinking your gray beverage you have over there. I see the thing starting to float, so I think that's how you like it. And so there you go.
Good God.
He's like, look, I got cottage cheese I'm drinking now.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, you know what? Then I start to get ricotta, and then it becomes a fancy drink.
Then I put some French fries in it, and I got cheese and curds. Poutine.
Poutine.
No,
Canadian of him.
I'm sorry I distracted us, but as soon as he was talking about that thing at the beginning where he watched it on Laverne and Shirley and tried it, I was like, oh my God, Josh watched it on Laverne and Shirley. He didn't.
Did he really?
No, there's no chance. I guarantee he's never seen one episode of Laverne and Shirley. That's so old.
I did. I used to watch. I used to love watching Nick at Night back in the day.
Oh, I was a TV kid for sure.
I used to watch so much Nick at Night.
Who was the star of Laverne and Shirley again? Was it Lily Tomlin?
Laverne and Shirley.
Penny Marshall, and who was the other one?
Penny Marshall.
I can't remember. Alec is like, it was both Laverne and Shirley. But yeah, it was Penny Marshall. I can't remember what the other one's name was.
But I really like how this episode ended with him coming across a man in the airport, right?
This blew my mind.
God. I have no idea who this person is. The poet?
Yeah, the comedian. He came down and was like, basically told
I wish I knew the quote
for him. Yeah, gave him a little limerick about being sick. And it was like, what's going on? And it was Nipsey Hussle, not Hustle.
No, Russell.
Nipsey Russell.
Yeah.
Which I guess he was a big deal comedian back in the day, enough for a rap icon to name himself after him.
Yeah. But yeah, he met a random celebrity that gave him a little poem to make him feel better.
Yeah, it was like the weirdest. He's like, "Hello, little child. Don't feel bad. I would like you to smile and feel glad." And it's like,
yeah, something like that for sure. Yeah. It's like, that would be the weirdest final experience to be like, what just happened?
Yeah.
Let's go home.
Like, who's a comedian these days? You know, like
Dane Cook.
Yeah, Dane Cook comes across
Jim Gaffigan.
Tummy ache.
Jim Gaffigan.
Yeah.
Why did that guy talk to me about Hot Pockets?
Just doing a little limerick for you.
Why did that chubby white man whisper Hot Pockets in my ear?
It might make me feel better. I feel like Jim Gaffigan can make me feel better.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, he's a good guy. He can do it.
But yeah, honestly, just a hilarious story and really fun.
Fun ride. Yeah, it was a great podcast. It's
glad you guys liked it.
Yeah, it doesn't fall into that trap that you said earlier of just like, I'm a celebrity. He really is treating it like,
I just really like Seth Rogen as well.
Glass. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like hosting it, which is really nice.
He's more thoughtful than you would think too. Seth Rogen is.
You hardly hear much of him, and he lets the guest tell their story.
That's all you really can do, baby.
He does a good job of letting them tell their story. He doesn't.
It's a good one.
Kind of
good recommendation. Speaking of recommendations, I have one. This is having its day in the sun, as it were. The Batman Unburied series on. We're going to listen to the first episode, Kind of a Night Person, and a little bit about it real quick. Serial killer known as the Harvester is terrorizing Gotham City, but Batman is not coming to the rescue. Ooh, excited to listen. Yeah, a lot of great writers on it, and pretty stoked. And remember,
there's always more to discover.
This was a podcast from the Podfix Network. You can check out more shows like it at podfixnetwork.com.